The air in the briefing room was thick with the usual mix of bravado and stale coffee. It was a place of noise, of loud voices and louder plans. The men of SEAL Team 7 were a brotherhood, forged in the harshest environments the world had to offer. They knew each other's strengths, weaknesses, and every story told 100 times over. So when the door slid open, a sudden complete silence fell over the room. It was not the silence of respect for a superior officer. It was the silence of pure, unfiltered disbelief. Standing in the doorway was a woman. She was not a communications officer or an analyst. Her uniform was the same crisp operational camouflage as their own, perfectly fitted, without a single crease out of place. Her presence was an immediate and profound disruption. The men exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of confusion and outright skepticism. A woman had never been assigned to a frontline SEAL team. It was simply not done. It was against every tradition and unwritten rule they lived by. Yet, here she was. Her posture was relaxed but alert, her hands held loosely at her sides. She carried no file, no orders in her hand, nothing to explain her sudden appearance. Her eyes, a deep and steady gray, swept across the room once, taking in every face without lingering on any single one. She did not speak. She did not need to. The silence she brought with her was more powerful than any introduction. Lieutenant Commander Thorne, the team's leader, was the first to find his voice, though it was strained. "Can we help you, ma'am?" he asked, the word ma'am feeling foreign and awkward on his tongue in this context. The woman simply stepped forward, moving with a fluid grace that was almost unnerving. She handed him a single sealed manila envelope. It bore no name, no originating office, just a single start classification stamp that made Thorne's blood run a little cold. He tore it open. The single sheet of paper inside contained only one line: "Your new team member, call sign, Night Fox." There was no other explanation, no service record, no background information, just a name. A ghost had just walked into their world. The team watched Thorne's face, trying to read the verdict in his expression. He looked from the paper to the woman and back again. He was a man accustomed to having all the information, to being in absolute control. Now he had none. The woman, this Night Fox, simply stood there, a calm island in a sea of their collective bewilderment. Her expression remained neutral, unreadable. She was not defiant, nor was she apologetic for the disruption she had caused. She was merely present, a fact they could not ignore or wish away. The established order of their world had been shattered in an instant, and they were left staring at the woman who had, without a single word, brought the hammer down. The days that followed were a crucible of unspoken challenges and brutal physical tests. The team, still reeling from her arrival, decided to show this newcomer what it truly meant to be a SEAL. They pushed the training to its absolute limits, hoping to expose a weakness, a crack in her silent facade. The forced marches were longer, the packs heavier. The cold water endurance drills in the churning Pacific were extended until muscles screamed and teeth chattered uncontrollably. Through it all, Night Fox moved with a quiet, relentless perseverance. She never complained, she never faltered. She simply did what was asked, her face a mask of calm focus, her breathing steady and controlled. Her physical strength was astonishing, and it quietly dismantled their preconceived notions. During hand-to-hand combat drills, she moved with an efficiency that was both beautiful and terrifying. She used her opponent's weight and momentum against them, her technique flawless, her strikes precise. Men twice her size found themselves on the mat before they even understood what had happened. She was not just strong, she was smart, anticipating moves, exploiting the smallest openings. Yet, after each bout, she would simply offer a hand to her defeated opponent, her expression unchanging. There was no gloating, no hint of triumph. There was only the quiet completion of another task. The shooting range was another arena where her skills shone with an unnerving brilliance. While the men prided themselves on their marksmanship, Night Fox demonstrated a level of mastery that was almost mechanical. Her hands were perfectly steady, her focus absolute. She would fire, eject the magazine, reload, and fire again in a single, seamless motion. Her groupings were impossibly tight, each shot a near-perfect replica of the last. She handled every weapon, from a sidearm to a long-range sniper rifle, with the same familiar ease. It was as if the weapons were extensions of her own body, and she wielded them with an instinctual, deadly grace that left the other SEALs watching in a state of grudging admiration. Despite her undeniable competence, a wall of silence remained between her and the team. She took her meals alone, her gaze often distant, as if she were looking at something far beyond the walls of the mess hall. She spoke only when a direct question required a verbal answer, and even then, her responses were brief and to the point. Her silence was not one of shyness or intimidation. It felt deliberate, a form of self-imposed isolation. The men did not know what to make of her. They respected her skill, they were awed by her endurance, but they could not connect with the woman behind the call sign. Night Fox remained an enigma, a ghost in their midst. The mystery surrounding Night Fox deepened with every passing day. Her personnel file was a black hole. When Lieutenant Commander Thorne tried to access it, he was met with a digital wall. His security clearance, which could unlock some of the nation's most sensitive secrets, was insufficient. Frustrated, he went to the base admiral, a man who had seen everything in his 40 years of service. The admiral tried himself, using his top-level clearance to pry open the digital lock on her history. He, too, was denied. The file was sealed with a classification so high that it seemed to originate from a level of authority beyond even the military's highest command. It was unprecedented. The admiral, a man who did not tolerate mysteries on his base, summoned Night Fox to his office. Thorne stood beside him, the tension in the room palpable. The admiral was a formidable presence, a man whose gaze could make even the most hardened SEALs feel like raw recruits. He looked at Night Fox, his expression stern. "I don't know who you are, or who sent you," he began, his voice a low growl. "But on my base, in my teams, trust is everything, and trust is earned." He gestured towards the training mat in the corner of his spacious office. "Let's see what you've got." It was an unofficial challenge, a test of a different kind. Night Fox simply gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod. She removed her cap, placing it neatly on the corner of the admiral's desk. She did not remove her boots or her utility belt. The admiral, a former SEAL himself and a master of close-quarters combat, moved into a ready stance. The fight was short, brutal, and utterly one-sided. The admiral was powerful, his movements honed by decades of experience. But Night Fox was something else entirely. She flowed around his attacks, deflecting his powerful strikes with minimal effort. She was not fighting him. She was simply controlling the space between them, a calm center in a storm of motion. The test ended when she had the admiral in a hold he could not break, his arm pinned behind his back, her forearm pressed firmly but not aggressively against his neck. The entire exchange had lasted less than 30 seconds. Thorne watched, his jaw tight with astonishment. Night Fox did not press her advantage. She simply held the position, her breathing even, her eyes calm. After a moment, she released him and stepped back, her posture returning to that of a subordinate before a superior officer. The admiral, breathing heavily, rubbed his shoulder. He looked at Thorne, then back at Night Fox. A slow look of profound, bewildered respect dawned on his face. The test was over. She had passed. The mission came without warning, as the most dangerous ones often do. Intelligence had pinpointed the location of a high-value target in a fortified compound deep within hostile territory. SEAL Team 7 was tasked with the extraction. The plan was solid, rehearsed to perfection. But as they say in the field, no plan survives contact with the enemy. The insertion went smoothly under the cover of a moonless night, but as they approached the compound, everything fell apart. An unseen tripwire, a silent alarm, and suddenly the night exploded in a hail of gunfire. They had walked into a sophisticated and deadly trap. The team was pinned down, caught in a kill zone with enemy fire raining down from 3 sides. Panic, a SEAL's deadliest foe, began to creep into their communications. Shouted commands became frantic, reports overlapped, and the controlled chaos of combat threatened to spiral into true chaos. Thorne was trying to coordinate a retreat, but they were taking heavy casualties. 2 men were down, and the rest were pinned behind inadequate cover, the sheer volume of incoming fire making any movement suicidal. It was in that moment of rising desperation that a new voice cut through the noise on the radio. It was calm, clear, and steady. It was Night Fox. "Thorne, I have a new firing position. I see a way out. Trust me." Her voice had a hypnotic effect, cutting through the fear and confusion. It was the first time she had ever taken charge, the first time she had offered more than silent compliance. Thorne, trapped in with no other options, made a split-second decision. Go, he commanded into his radio. Team, follow Night Fox's lead. A new set of coordinates flashed on their tactical displays, a path they had not considered. It was a risky route, exposing them briefly along a crumbling wall, but it was their only chance. One by one, guided by her precise instructions, the team began to move, providing covering fire for one another as they scrambled towards the new position she had identified. Night Fox directed their retreat with the cool precision of a grandmaster moving chess pieces. Bravo 2, suppress the machine gun nest on the roof. Bravo 5, smoke on the west wall, now. Her commands were simple, direct, and perfectly timed. She seemed to see the entire battlefield, to anticipate the enemy's every move. As the last of the team, carrying their wounded, scrambled to the relative safety of a deep ditch, they looked back. They saw a lone figure providing covering fire. Her muzzle flashes a steady rhythm in the darkness. It was Night Fox, drawing the enemy's attention, buying them the precious seconds they needed to escape. She had saved them all. Their return to base was a somber affair. The mission was a failure in terms of its objective, but a success in that every member of the team had made it back alive. This was due to one person and one person only, Night Fox. The men who had once viewed her with suspicion now looked at her with a raw, undeniable respect. She had proven herself not in the sterile environment of the training ground, but in the crucible of combat, where it mattered most. As they tended to their wounded and cleaned their gear, the silence that surrounded her was different. It was no longer a silence of exclusion, but one of awe. They kept their distance, not out of distrust, but because they did not know how to approach the woman who had single-handedly saved them. The official debriefing was a tense affair. The Admiral listened intently as Thorne recounted the events of the mission, his report clear and unequivocal. He made sure to highlight Night Fox's calm leadership and decisive actions, stating plainly that the entire team would have been lost without her. Throughout the debrief, Night Fox stood silently, her expression unreadable, as if she were listening to a story about someone else. She offered no corrections, no additional details. When the Admiral asked her directly to describe her thought process, she simply replied, "I saw a tactical advantage. I communicated it to the team leader." Her brevity was as sharp and efficient as her actions in the field. The mystery of her origins, however, only deepened. In the wake of the mission, the Admiral launched another, more forceful inquiry into her background. He used all his influence, calling in favors from the highest levels of the Pentagon. The response he received was not a denial, but a wall of absolute silence. His queries were not just rejected, they were erased. It was as if he had never asked. It became chillingly clear that Night Fox was not just a highly skilled operative. She was a ghost in the system, her existence protected by an authority so powerful that it could make even an admiral's questions disappear into the digital ether. This realization sent a ripple of unease through the command structure. Who was she? Was she part of a clandestine program so secret that it operated outside the normal chain of command? Was she an asset from another, more shadowy agency, embedded with the SEALs for a purpose they could not begin to fathom? The questions hung in the air, unanswered. The men of Team 7 stopped asking. They accepted her for what she was, a quiet, lethal protector who had appeared when they needed her most. Her past did not matter. Her presence was enough. She had earned their trust in the most fundamental way possible. Her departure was as sudden and silent as her arrival. One morning she was simply gone. Her bunk was stripped, the sheets folded with military precision. Her locker was empty. There was no fanfare, no formal transfer order, no farewell. It was as if she had evaporated into thin air. The men of Team 7 felt her absence like a physical presence. The briefing room seemed louder, the training drills less focused. The quiet, steady center of their world had been removed, and the team felt off balance. They had grown accustomed to her silent competence, to the unspoken standard of excellence she set just by being there. Lieutenant Commander Thorne found a single, plain white envelope on his desk. It was addressed to the Admiral. He delivered it personally, standing by as the older man opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper containing a short, handwritten note. The handwriting was neat, precise, and devoid of any flourish. It read, "Admiral, thank you for the opportunity. They are a good team. They are brothers. They will look after each other. NF." The initials were the only signature. It was the most they had ever learned about her, a brief glimpse of the person behind the call sign, and it only served to deepen the mystery. Her legend began to grow almost immediately. The story of the mission, of her calm voice on the radio, and her selfless courage was told and retold, not just within Team 7, but in hushed tones throughout the entire Special Operations community. She became a ghost story, a cautionary tale for the arrogant, and an inspiration for the brave. New recruits would hear whispers of the Night Fox, the mysterious woman who was better than the best, who appeared out of nowhere and vanished just as quickly. Her name became synonymous with a different kind of strength. Not the loud, boisterous strength of ego, but the quiet, unshakable strength of character. The men of Team 7 were changed by her. They became quieter, more observant. They learned to listen more and speak less. They had witnessed firsthand that the most effective leadership did not always come from the loudest voice in the room. They had learned that respect was not given by rank, but earned through action and integrity. Night Fox had left behind more than just a legend. She had left behind a lesson. She had taught them that true courage was often silent, and that the strongest bonds were forged not in words, but in shared sacrifice and unspoken trust. Her legacy was etched not in record books, but in the very heart of the team she had saved. Years passed. The legend of Night Fox faded into the background, becoming a story told to new team members, a piece of institutional folklore. The men of Team 7 moved on, some to other teams, others to instructor roles. Lieutenant Commander Thorne was now Captain Thorne, and the Admiral was on the verge of retirement. The world, however, continued to turn, and new threats continued to emerge. A crisis was brewing, a situation of such delicacy and danger that it required an operative with a unique and almost impossible set of skills. It was a mission that demanded a ghost, someone who could move through the shadows without a trace, someone with no official record, no digital footprint. One evening, as the Admiral sat in his office overlooking the darkening base, there was a soft knock on his door. He looked up, expecting his aide. Instead, the door opened and she stepped inside. She looked exactly the same. Time seemed to have had no effect on her. She wore simple civilian clothes, but she moved with the same silent, fluid grace. She was Night Fox. The Admiral felt a jolt, a mixture of shock and something that felt remarkably like relief. He did not ask how she had got onto the secure base, or how she had bypassed the guards outside his office. He knew that such questions were pointless. "There's a mission," she said. Her voice the same calm, steady tone he remembered. It was not a question. It was a statement of fact. The Admiral simply nodded, pushing a highly classified file across his desk. "It's unofficial," he said. "Off the books. If you are caught, we will deny any knowledge of you. You will be completely on your own." He watched her face for any reaction, any hint of hesitation. There was none. She picked up the file, her gray eyes scanning the first page. The silence in the room stretched on, comfortable and familiar. It was the silence of professionals who understood the gravity of the work to be done. Before she left, Thorne, who had been summoned by the Admiral, arrived at the office. He stopped dead in the doorway, his eyes widening in disbelief as he saw her. He said nothing, but the look on his face spoke volumes. It was a look of profound respect, of gratitude, and of a bond that had never been broken. Night Fox turned to him, and for the first time, a small, almost imperceptible smile touched the corners of her lips. She gave a single, slow nod. It was a greeting, a farewell, and an acknowledgement of everything they had been through. Then, as silently as she had appeared, she was gone, a shadow slipping back into the night for one last heroic mission. After she disappeared for the final time, the Admiral gathered the remaining members of the original Team 7. They were older now, their faces lined with the experience of a dozen more deployments, a dozen more impossible missions. They stood in the same briefing room where they had first laid eyes on her, the memory of that day still vivid. The Admiral, now in his final week before retirement, did not speak of the secret mission she had undertaken. He did not need to. They understood that some stories are not meant to be told. Instead, he spoke of the lesson she had left behind, the quiet truth she had embodied. "We are taught that strength is about being the loudest, the strongest, the fastest," the Admiral began, his voice quiet and reflective. "We are taught that leadership is about giving orders, about being in charge. Night Fox taught us something different. She taught us that true strength comes from the heart. It is quiet. It is humble. It is found not in the words you speak, but in the actions you take when everything is on the line." He looked at each man in turn. She showed us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the will to act in spite of it, to put others before yourself without needing any recognition. Her lesson had become the team's guiding principle. They sought not to be the loudest, but the most effective. They learned to value the quiet professional, the team member who did the work without needing the praise. They understood that respect was the ultimate currency, and it was earned through silent competence and unwavering integrity. The legend of Night Fox was no longer just a story about a mysterious operative. It was a code of conduct. It was a reminder that the most essential qualities of a warrior, courage, honor, and sacrifice, were internal, not external. They were qualities of the spirit, not of the voice. In the years that followed, a new tradition began at the training center. On a quiet memorial wall, among the names of fallen heroes, there was a simple polished brass plaque. It bore no name, no rank, and no dates. It was engraved with a single, elegant image, the silhouette of a fox against a crescent moon. There was no explanation for it, and the official guides were instructed to say they did not know its origin. But the SEALs knew. It was a silent tribute to a ghost, a quiet honor for a hidden hero. It was a lasting image of the woman who came from the shadows and taught them that the greatest strength is the one that needs no announcement, the courage that lives in silence.